Expedition 33 is an industry plant. This is something that's very obvious if you pay attention to game journals, if you see just how corrupt gaming YouTubers are, if you see
Okay, so he says this is very obvious if you pay attention to game journals. Well, first off, I don't pay attention to that shit. Is he gonna be able to provide any type of evidence how this shit is a industry plan? So he's saying game journals and game YouTubers.
gaming YouTubers who generally refuse to cover RPGs, such as, say, Dark Side Phil or Max.
Did this nigga, did he just say Dark Side Phil?
Generally refuse to cover RPGs, such as, say, Dark Side Phil or Maximilian Dude. Like, these guys.
First off, Dark Side Phil, you should not take his advice on anything. That's so crazy that he brings up this nigga DSP. You shouldn't take his advice on anything. And then Maximilian Dude, isn't he like a fucking fighting game guy? I mean, I'm pretty, he might play other games, but what does that have to do with Expedition 33 being an industry plan?
Guys are coming out.
Like how could you figure out that Expedition 33 is an industry plan from Maximilian Dude and Darkside Phil? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Saying this is like one of the best games of the year and this huge monumental achievement in gaming. Don't believe it. It's all hype, no substance. This is not
all hype and no substance. Wow. Surely he's gonna point out how this game is just sizzle, right? It's not a selling a steak. It's just sizzle. It's just, you know, fluff, right? Because I think the game had a hell of a good story. I think the combat, the gameplay was good. I think the world design was good. You know, hell, they had a bitch floating around with her feet out. I mean, I think it was just a good game. I definitely think it deserves Game of the Year.
Some major impactful experience. This is not some fresh, new, exciting thing. This is not.
I definitely. What do you mean, right? I mean, I don't think it like reinvented the wheel or anything like that. But I mean, I think the narrative was a very deep story, a very emotional story, right? You know what I'm saying, right? You know, like I said, you know, I'm very stoic. You know, like I said, I haven't cried since the day I was born, right? But I think it was a very good game, right? Has he played this shit?
Some original take on the RPG formula. Like, it is just another example of Western game journos trying their hardest to sell you on some game their friends made. Okay.
But fuck what the journal said. Like, nobody gives a shit about what the journals have to say. I feel like people have been, this game has had really good word of mouth. Like, just about everybody who's played it has talked well about it, right? I guess Nintendo fanboys, wait a minute, hold on. Is this shit isn't on Nintendo, right? Let me see. I'm just guessing it's probably not on this shit. Yes, so this shit's not on Nintendo. So, I mean, unless he plays on other platforms, right? He seems like he's a little Nintendo fanboy. So how can he even say this shit? He probably hasn't even played the game.
It is an industry plant, and they...
Of course he hasn't played it, Sigs. He's a nutcase who talks to himself. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm putting together the source, the details around this shit. I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, he's just saying crazy shit.
Are going to extreme lengths to try and push this as, like, a Game of the Year contender, when in actuality, it's not even really something that anybody who is serious about games is even talking about. It's
okay, so now we're going to sit here and try to say that if people, only serious gamers, whatever the fuck that means, only people who are serious gamers aren't spending time talking about this game. I think that's bullshit. I think, like I said, I've seen nothing but praise for this game.
Something that anybody cares for. You know, everyone's playing like Kirby Air Riders or Pokemon Legends.
I haven't heard no one talking about it. Did he just say Pokemon Legends?
It's not something that anybody cares for. You know, everyone's playing like Kirby Air Riders or Pokemon Legends ZA or...
Okay, yeah, so you're just smoking dick. I've heard nothing but negativity around that Pokemon game. Haven't heard anything about Kirby Air Riders, so you're just gonna name Nintendo games. So you're just mad that this shit ain't a Nintendo game, pretty much.
You know, in my case, old Tales games. You know, like people are playing endless amounts of superior games than Expedition 33.
Like what? Like what are the games? Pokemon Legends, that Pokemon AZ shit, whatever the fuck it's called. I've been hearing people slam dunk, throwing it off the backboard, windmill, slam dunking that shit.
And there's just this weird, stubborn refusal from the gaming community to acknowledge that there are dozens of games that have come out this
Well, maybe there's a stubborn refusal of that because that's how gamers feel. People feel like it's a good game. It seems like you're upset that people are praising this shit.
That are better than Expedition 30.
Any Nintendo slop. Yeah, just naming slop. He's living in his little Nintendo world where the people around him are only playing Nintendo games, right? It's crazy. I haven't really heard much about Nintendo games, right? It's not a Nintendo game. Riddle solved, literally.
This game doesn't do anything like particularly interesting, exciting, fresh, or original. That this is something.
I mean, I don't feel like a game has to do that in order to push it forward, but I definitely feel like the story was fresh and original. Like a lot of times, like with stories, you can kind of see the plot twist coming. I don't feel like this was the case at all. Like I really feel like the world that they built, the story, the narrative, like I thought it was very unique.
That is only being propped up to try and gaslight you into thinking the modern video game industry is healing after its dark age.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far to say that it's healing, but I mean, when there's a good game, it's a good game, and word of mouth will always represent that. Like he keeps on talking about gaming journalists. Like, what world do you live in where people just follow gaming journalists? Like, I feel like gaming journalists have the least influences than they've ever had. Like, what is he talking about? And then the YouTubers he mentioned is fucking Darkside Phil and Maximilian Dude.
That was established.
Right, I think Maximilian Dude is a good YouTube creator, but I mean, isn't he like a fight game guy?
Back in 2007, that era where everything looked the same, everything was realistic, everything took itself too seriously. Like, it was all for dude bros, man. This is an evolution of that formula.
So he's trying to say Expedition 33 is a dude bro game? What?
Expedition 33 is deep and meaningful, and it's just as good of an RPG.
It is. It is. Like, how are you? At least pull it up. At least have some type of talking points. Like, he hasn't said anything. He's just been running his mouth. Are you going to debunk that it's not thoughtful and meaningful? I think so.
PG is Final Fantasy VI. Like they were legit like throwing those kinds of lines at you when this game first came out. And of course, pretty much every actual JRPG fan ignored it.
Oh.
But that
so the actual JRPG fans ignored it.
Led to kind of like this game having this stereotype of the fans just worshiping this game while shit talking like all of the better RPGs that like real gamers were playing instead. I heard people shit talk Dragon Quest, modern Final Fantasy. I heard people
Hey, people have been shitting on the modern Final Fantasy, and I have heard people shit on the Dragon Quest, right? I mean, so you're upset that games that you enjoy aren't getting the love, right? But this new game just comes in and people are enjoying the shit.
Talking shit about Tales. I heard people talking like, oh, Expedition 33 is just going to be as popular and as influential as Final Fantasy VII, which
I've never heard anyone say that. I've heard people on Twitter say shit like, the game makes them feel like how they used to feel playing Final Fantasy titles, right? What Final Fantasy used to be, all right? But I don't think anybody's saying it's going to be more influential, right? He's just pulling shit out his ass. Do you have like a tweet or something of somebody saying that shit? So far, you've just been here running your mouth saying nonsense, right? The fact that he thinks he's one of those with the way he talks, yeah, it's like he's crazy. He's definitely a Nintendo. He does the same thing every year when Nintendo doesn't get 20 award nominations. Yeah, I mean, he's tweaking.
Ridiculous, but that's why this is an industry plant. That's why
you haven't said anything that points to it being an industry plan. I thought that they were formerly on Ubisoft, and then there was like 30 of them, and they left. They made their own team, and this is like the first game that they made. That's what I thought, right? Like, are you gonna point out something that proves otherwise? All you're doing is coping and seething about the word of mouth around this game.
I feel that this is kind of the follow-up to Baldur's Gate 3 because we're never
Baldur's Gate. Don't tell me he's going to start talking shit about Baldur's Gate 3.
We're going to get a Baldur's Gate 4. Larian is just going to put out like a derivative IP that they created themselves that nobody cares about that'll just flop.
Oh yeah, just like with Baldur's Gate 3. It will just flop like Baldur's Gate 3. This guy is fucking delusional. So now he's talking shit about Larian.
On release. Like this was something.
Yeah, you're crazy as fuck.
That the Game Journos tried to pass off as this independently produced project, when in actuality it has investors. That it's
like who? Name them.
That it has a publisher, and
people have rights to their opinion. Something he seems not to understand. Yeah. Exactly. Expedition 33 is too demanding to run on a potato. That's what I'm saying. I can't believe they got left outside. Right? They was even able to get it running on that darn Series S, you
As a
know?
result is by definition not indie. And that's become like a big major issue in the past couple of years is that we keep seeing like these whimsical, like artsy games being passed off as like independent projects when in actuality they are not. Dave the
I mean, do you have any proof to point to prove that that's not the case?
Diver, It Takes Two,
Because, like I said, what I've heard, I think they're called Sandfall. I think I've heard that they were previously with with Ubisoft or whatever the fuck. They left their team of 30, and I've even heard them say stuff like they're choosing to stay only a team of 30, right? So he's claiming that there's people that are investing and whatnot. Like, can he prove this shit or is he just yapping?
this like all are examples of games that are like passed off as like these independent experiences when in actuality they're just lower budget games from big publishers. And that's
I mean, but it came from a team of 30.
kind of what we're seeing now with like Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, so he's saying Microsoft did invest heavily, I think, in E33. Well, I think they got like the Game Pass. I know that they put money in it, they're having it on Game Pass, but nonetheless, it was still 30 people that made the game.
With like all of this stuff is that the term indie has been co-opted to try to just mean like low budget and artsy. And the game journal industry is doing everything they can to try and downplay what they're doing and try and advocate for absolute nonsense games that nobody's going to even remember. Like
Wow. So now it's an absolute nonsense game that no one's going to remember. He's saying a lot of shit about this game. And we're just assuming he hasn't played it. Like he's making very sweeping statements about this shit. It'd be a shame if he hasn't fucking played it,
a
right?
year from now, who do you know who even cares about Hi-Fi Rush or let's see what else. Even Baldur's Gate 3 or Astrobot.
I mean, come on, brother. That was game of the generation. You crazy in your brain. Right? And I do agree with them on Astrobot.
Like all these games that were just like passed off as indie experiences in spite of being like obvious having obvious big publishers behind them. Like it's laughable, it's stupid, and it really does need to be addressed and called out. It's probably one of the shadiest things about the video game industry at this point. Like it's one of those things that just you see happen over and over and over again, and like nobody else is really addressing it. It's something that like people are just allowing to happen. And it's a shame that we've kind of gone.
I mean, you're talking about how no one's addressing it, but you haven't said anything, right? The Deceiver says 6 games that go day one on Game Pass are paid upfront. Yeah, I've heard that. But what I'm saying is it's still a small team that made the game. I thought that was the definition of indie, right? I'm not going to act like I'm an indie police, right? I'm open to have my mind changed. Is he going to provide evidence that shows that it's an industry plan? Right? He's saying all this shit, but all he's doing is just yapping.
Through this weird transitional period where we've moved away from like the PS3 era, PS360 era of like dude bro casual gaming to like just this weird like leftist like terminally online just
Oh yeah, actually kind of based.
grift sphere. It's
Oh.
it's red.
And then we throw out the G word, right? And this is what I mean. This is the thing about weenies like this. They love using that word. It's a shame because that word has died. It's died now because so many people just call it grift, and they don't even know what the fuck the word means. Baldur's Gate, I can't. This has got to be some Andy Kaufman level shit. I know, like the Baldur's Gate is crazy. I don't know if he's doing that shit intentionally or what.
Different than how things used to be, and I would argue it's
Harmon providing evidence, never. Yeah, see, I'm new to this guy. Like, I'm like, this shit is like a fever dream. Like, I don't even know what to say.
actually quite a bit better because I don't feel as if like the gaming industry has the same kind of stranglehold over the industry that it used to.
I do think that's somewhat
Like
true.
back in the day, everybody would just hype up like Mass Effect or Portal or like Dead Space or whatever.
I mean, those games were good.
Like I was playing the far superior Nintendo games, and now it feels like
and there we fucking go, right? So you've just been smoking dick for a minute now. We're talking about Mass Effect, Portal, and whatnot, and you're just like, I was playing the superior Nintendo games. I mean, holy shit.
Nintendo games are actually more popular than the stuff the industry tried to put out there. We saw saw this like in 2023 when Tears of the Kingdom outperformed Baldur's Gate 3, and we're seeing it again this year when Donkey Kong.
Nobody cared. And nobody cared, right? Nobody cared about that, right? We're talking about the game Baldur's Gate 3, in my opinion. I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom because I'm not going to get a fucking Nintendo. I could probably emulate the shit, but like I said, it's not really my cup of tea, but maybe I'll give it a shot, right? I see these Nintendo guys, they be glazing the hell out these games, right? We'll see what they're about.
Bonanza outperformed pretty much every other nominee on the list. So,
oh well, look, it got nominated, right? Donkey Kong Bonanza. That was the game where they prioritized fun over optimization, right?
Again, like the industry is healing. People are learning to reject games that don't.
Yeah, it's healing and you bring up a game where the devs focused on fun instead of optimization, right? And you guys ate that shit up.
Nonsense, and they're kind of becoming the Oscars, where they're kind of just telling people to go support like artsy games that nobody's ever played or heard of. Like they're becoming that kind of award show, and it is something that
nobody takes this shit seriously, right? But it's funny you coping about it.
We as a community really need to push back and
push back on what? You haven't provided anything to push back. All you've stated is that Expedition 33 is an industry plan. That's it. Like you there's nothing to push back on.
Push back against and reboot and destroy.
Yeah, I mean the Game Awards show is pretty dog shit. 1,000%. I definitely think it's some shit to get memed on. You know what I mean? But I guess it's just human nature, right? You see like some type of shit that people can vote on. You look and say, "Oh, I think this game's going to win. I think that game's going to win." I think Expedition 33 should win for sure.
Like this is an award show that simply should not exist. And like I don't really want to hear anything about the Game Awards.
I mean, shit, I wouldn't argue with it honestly.
Outside of how irrelevant it is and how nobody wants to watch it, We're already at that point where most people are only watching it for the reveal trailers, and I don't even understand why.
That is true, right?
You should do that. Just wait for the trailers to be re-uploaded on YouTube afterward. There's no reason.
I mean, but there be some goofy shit that happens, right? Like we had the shit with Matan, right? That one guy who showed up with Bill Clinton. There's just always some goofy, awkward shit that happens, right? I mean, at least that's the reason I be watching that shit.
To support the Game Awards for that. So looking at something like Expedition 33, something that has no credibility whatsoever,
okay, so now you're saying it has no credibility. Now expand, pause.
That pretends to be something it isn't, like something that's being worshipped and hyped up only to be discarded and forgotten by next year, right?
Okay, so now the game's going to be discarded and forgotten by next year.
It's something that we really have to acknowledge and point out that something like this.
Yeah, I agree. It's way better to watch it live. Yeah, for sure.
Should not be allowed to get the kind of attention it does. There doesn't feel like there's any real debate over what game of the year is going to be. It feels like it was decided back in April.
Hey, you know what? Hey, a broken clock is right 2 times, right? 2 times a day. That is true. Right, that is very true. I do think that people knew what game of the year was going to be, and everybody knows it's Expedition 33. And I think now we've finally gotten all the pieces to the puzzles. I think he's upset because he knows Expedition 33 is going to win and not Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's my call. That's my take on this.
It feels like they've been pushing this line all year long, and it is something that does need to be called out. That this game does not deserve any awards whatsoever.
Yeah, well, it looks like they about to take game of the year, right? I mean, holy shit, that was something, right?